our analyst, the guy at Big Data Polling. So, Richard, first off, Fox News has called Arizona as a defeat for President Trump. They've called it for Biden. But Jason Miller, our old wingman here, our co-host in the war room, is out. I guess he's out in front of the White House saying that absolutely no way. It's too early to call it. There's plenty of votes there. So what do you think?
I agree with him. Steve, this is crazy. Fox News is clearly playing a role here. They're using Arizona to hold off counting on the rest of the country and to make this seem like it's not over tonight, that the president's path has narrowed. The fact of the matter is, he has been doing two things tonight that makes calling Arizona incorrect. He has been defying his election day vote total, and he's been defying that break. He has routinely erased 15-point leads in early votes. For them to do this, yet wait 2 hours to call the state of Florida, when Fontes, the Maricopa County recorder, just decided not to. He just stopped. It froze. It's outrageous. I mean, Steve, it's outrageous.
Okay,
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
I think this is Fox. I think this is Fox News, which is different than the opinion side. I think it's Fox News picking a side. But let's go to the map. Let's go to your best when we were talking about the data. Let's go and make your case of while Fox News was quick on the trigger. We got Fog City Midge. She's all worked up about this one, right? She's been a Fox fan for a long time. It's breaking her heart.
It has been breaking my heart. What's going on over there at Fox? I'm concerned. They've been making some good calls tonight and some bad calls tonight, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so let's get the Richard, if you can put up your chart. Let's put up your map of Arizona, and I want to specifically
take a look at it.
Yeah, I want to take a look, and listen. Let's go back in time. You actually, in your polling, in your analysis, and you get deep into these states. You actually, as we talked about the other night, you were doing Arizona, one of the last ones. We talked about how critical it was on that second tranche, the tranche of North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, that would stay on the foundation of Ohio and Florida for a Trump victory. This was one, quite frankly, that I think you felt the most comfortable about. Your final number was around 2.5 or 2.7%. Let's go through that, where we are now, and I want you to make the case for our audience of why you think why you think Fox was too quick on the trigger for calling this against President Trump and for Biden. And all I can tell you is the great guys of the campaign, led by our old partner here in the war room, Jason Miller, he's taken the analysis, I'm sure, of all the hard work of Greg Manns and Steve Cortez, but they're fired up over at the White House right now. They think this is outrageous. Why do you agree with them?
All right, let me give them the data behind that, right? I'll save the yelling for them, but it is outrageous, Steve. The bottom line is we're talking about an 8-point lead, routinely erased tonight, and here's why it can happen. Maricopa County right there, 54-44, with actually less of the vote reported than the total vote statewide, okay? In the end, and then Patchy came in for Joe Biden, maybe a couple hundred votes. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But in the end, what we saw in our polling was that the voter in Maricopa was going to come home and it was going to basically fight him to a draw in Maricopa, but it had to be done with that election day vote. In that first run of early ballots, in that first week, the polling was horrible for Donald Trump on who voted. In that second week, it got a little bit better, which is why it looks now like 10. And then in the election day vote, he could have fought that to a near draw, basically. And that's what he was doing in our polling to pull ahead. In Pima County, there's still a lot of vote in Pima. He needs to get to 40. But this has been the trend all night where he absolutely could. So this call was early, and it makes no sense when you put it up against Florida being over 2 hours before they call that. By the way, I can also say Texas is safely in the column of the president.
What do you think Texas is going to end up? What kind of spread? That's the thing about that. Texas is now turned in. I think it's pretty big. It's over 5%.
Yeah, it's we got it right now, almost 6. There is a little bit left. If we take a look at the map, which we could do right here, the burbs around Dallas, see them? This is Dallas, guys. He didn't do that bad there, but he got killed, of course. It's basically in. Dallas is in. The burbs around Dallas, really needed to go for Biden for him to put a run on this. In truth, Biden is underperforming Beto pretty significantly. This is not even a Beto Cruz map. This is a dominant Republican map, or at least it will be, although I would worry about it going forward. Here's Harris, by the way, also another stronghold for Democrats. Stevie's at 42%, the president, 42.5% in Harris. There's just nowhere else for Biden to get votes. And as this map fills in, it will get more red. And I think the president's headed for an 8-point win in Texas.
Wow.
I really do.
I got to tell you
And
that.
Georgia, oh, look, the decision desk finally called it. I did say I was going to do it. When I got on with you, I said, listen, Texas is over. We're calling it. And then Georgia, too. Georgia is on the way to being called. The president just keeps widening out his lead there.
And what is Georgia going to come in at?
Well, this is why I think a lot of the vote is remaining in some of these smaller counties. You see 74% here, but most of it is basically in. And then the blue counties, Biden won. He's got some. That's less than 99. That's about 99. Same thing, 99. So he's about maxed out. There are some votes in the Atlanta suburbs, but not enough, Steve, to offset what is 450,000 margin. And then you'll have some of these smaller red counties. See Lumpkin over there. You're going to have some 1,000 spread here, 1,000 spread there. The president's going to come in pretty big in Georgia. I think it's going to be pretty big. It's going to be like, I would say 11 points. It's going to be big.
Hold on. He's going to win Georgia by 11 points?
Yeah, he seriously could win Georgia by, well, if it shrinks down in the burbs and these others don't come in, maybe it goes down to 8 or 9. But I would say low end 6.5, high end 11.
6.5 to 11. We were worried about that one at the beginning of the broadcast. Let's go to North Carolina. Let's drill down there.
Yeah.
Where do you think you're?
This is another state.
You've called Texas. You've basically called Georgia. Put that in this category. What do you talk about North Carolina right now?
So this still looks like 1.5, 1 to 1.5. If some of the counties come in a little bit better, he could inch up to about 1.7. But this is another race. Honestly, we're on the brink of calling. Orange is almost out. Guilford is out. My argument here is this, Steve. Mecklenburg is at now 100% almost. Are they supposed to tell? I mean, really, what is the likelihood that over the next 9 days they find 100,000 ballots and they break for Joe Biden 90-10? We have seen nowhere in the country where anything broke for Joe Biden 90-10. So that ends us up really where we started, around 1.5, 1.2.
Okay, I want to bring in Bill real quickly. When you say on North Carolina at 1% to 1.5%, how many mail-in votes are not? How many mail-in votes, Richard, are that not included? Can this be called tonight? I mean, can we put this one to bed? Or at 1%, are they going to say that's too tight and is just going to be hanging out there? Since ballots that are postmarked by tonight still have 9 days, and I don't know what they're doing for mail delivery down in rural Carolina. But 9 days. Is there that many votes that are potentially outstanding with mail-ins that have not been counted that they couldn't call North Carolina tonight?
No, they're not there. That's the point I'm trying to make to Decision Desk and others right there. They have the numbers like I have the numbers. North Carolina, there were only 1 million, and not only, but compare this to the actual vote share. 1,455,328 total ballot requests for absentee. At the time that voting began this morning, there were already 4.6 nearly million votes cast. So the president got out about another million voters, and this is why he was able to dent some, leads everywhere. And think about that, Steve, what I just said right there. He got out another million basically, and yet he won them by such a big share. He erased Biden's 12-point lead in that 4.6 nearly million votes. That is why I am saying what Fox is doing in Arizona is derelict. He took 1 million votes and erased a 12-point lead in a 4.6 million voter pool. That's less than a quarter, folks. That's less than a quarter. Do some quick math in your head and tell me how much the president's been winning election day votes. 3 to 1.
Okay, I want to
could
give
do it.
Bill McGinley, just for after we finish with Richard, I want to give you a heads up. We're hearing from people in Pennsylvania. They've cut off counting in Philly and Philadelphia.
They have. Yes.
I mean, is this where the games start? Is this where they're going to start
Yes.
to try to play Smash Mouth? They're going to hold back Philly until they got to find out how many votes they got to make up in the rest of the state. Then they're going to be voting by the ballot down there. Is that the situation? I mean, Richard Barris, I want to go to you first and then Bill McGinley. Why do you cut off counting in Philadelphia right now when this whole thing hangs in the balance? And why are you not going to call North Carolina when there's not enough votes out there?
Donald Trump flipped Bucks. That decision came. We heard that right after Bucks flipped. They've been fighting with a 2-point lead there. By the way, I just have to say, because you got to own it when you own it, Biden did take Lackawanna a little bit, but Monroe did go, and it went big, 24 points for Donald Trump. And almost 30 points in Luzerne. So Trump has a big lead here now, even if they got another 500,000 votes. That would net Biden about 280,000 in what's outstanding in the Southeast. It wouldn't be enough. That's my point. It would not be enough. And we know we went into Election Day. We looked at the numbers before we came on. It was only 660,000 in Philadelphia. This is where the game begins. I hate to say it, but that's the reality, Steve. It really is.
So, Bill McGinley, for Richard Barris, do you agree in North Carolina and in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, they're starting to play the games now?
Yeah. Well, look, this is where the lawyers got to step up and be pretty aggressive, right? I mean, the first thing that's probably going to be happening, especially in Philadelphia, is that the Trump and Republican lawyers are going to be out there contacting the election administrators, seeking explanations and assurances that these ballots are going to be secure. Right? They're going to start pressing them on what's going to happen tomorrow morning, who's going to show up, and which watchers are going to be permitted into the room. The Democrats are going to be doing the same thing. We've seen this before where they pause the count if they don't think they're going to get through the evening, and they're going to try and do this. But this is where the lawyers on the ground in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, got to step up and make sure that those ballots are secure and make sure that nothing is going to happen to them. There's any number of things that could happen here. My guess is that the Democrats are starting to go back and do exactly what I said. They're going to start thinking about the postal office. They're going to start thinking about what ballots could be on the ground in the postal facility.
They got to find votes right now, right? Yeah. They know they got the denominator. They know what the target is. They got to solve for their part of the equation, which we've got to find more than with these out.
Credit where credit is due. Democrats typically have pretty good data. So my guess is that one of the things that they're doing is they're going back, and their data and political folks are going back through to find the voters who requested mail-in ballots to be able to contact them to find out whether or not they deposited it into the post office. Because if they did, they're going to start getting affidavits from those folks and use it as a predicate to go in and start searching the postal facilities. The Democratic lawyers are thinking addition, right? And in some ways, the Trump campaign needs to be doing the same in North Carolina, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. They need to be going back through their data to see which voters that they have who requested ballots, put it in the mail, and didn't get in. You need to prepare to be adding whether you're on top or whether you're on the under the underdog. This is something that needs to start happening now.
I want to go back just for North Carolina. It hasn't been called. You're not prepared to call it yet. It's very tight. But do the math for the audience about the number of votes are outstanding, because this is the concept of being able to call it tonight instead of this, you got to wait till November 12th to all the ballots are in. Do the math for us, Richard, once again, where you're saying this is nonsense. This could be called tonight.
This can be called tonight. They're ballot hunting. They're ballot fishing. There were 1,455,328 absentee ballots requested during early voting. There were already 4,561,016 votes cast before Trump got another million to the polls. So in the end, he won 1 million voters so big that he erased that lead that Biden had, 12 points out of nearly 4.6 million votes. The idea that those ballots, first of all, Steve, have not been requested anyway. It's just not reality. The math is not there. It's just not there.
And this is also your argument for why you think Fox is calling Arizona quickly, because Trump has shown the ability. Your argument that, hey,
Yes.
he could close on 3-1 as you get down to Maricopa County and clean it up in the last 20%. He's done it before all night. And this is why you think they're way too quick on the trigger for calling Arizona. And clearly Jason Miller, our former partner here in the war room, the guys in the campaign are outraged that this thing was called.
Then they should be. Steve, they should. He's been doing it all night. That's been the pattern.
Okay, can we go?
And they know it.
I want to go up to Michigan. We've got a Senate race up there that looks tight. But is Michigan? Jack Maxey keeps giving me the elbow. Is Michigan in play here? Could Trump tonight recreate taking down the blue wall of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin? Get the trifecta again? Is this going to be as you see it today, right now? Is there enough votes out there for Biden to come back and really take on Trump in Michigan?
Yeah, let's take a look at the presidential race first, and then we'll go to John James, who is doing just a little bit better than Donald Trump. But the fact of the matter is they're both doing what they need to do to win. Here's the secret sauce for Michigan for a Republican candidate. You're going to lose Oakland County. How much are you going to lose it by? We had Trump down by 16, Steve. 16. He's only losing it by 7 points right now. And it does look a little bit better for Biden than it did earlier. So I'll give him that. But this is not the margin that Biden needs, because to win, you have to use Macomb right here, which Trump has increased his margin by nearly 10 points, roughly 10 points, folks. That's big. And you use Macomb to fight Oakland to a draw, nearly a draw. Then you use Monroe, which Trump is carrying overwhelmingly, to outweigh that equation. Then you have Wayne, you have Washtenaw, and you have Ingham. You have to use almost everything else in the rest of the state. This is going to flip soon anyway. I guess it has. It came in 6 points for Biden. Still not a big deal. Trump has the momentum. He has the numbers in these other counties to offset Wayne. And if you go to Wayne, something very interesting, both Donald Trump and John James are performing exceptionally well in Maine. Exceptionally well. They're both in the 40s, which is stunning. And dare I say, there's just no way to do that without getting a decent lion's share of the African-American vote.
But is this what Jack Maxey, Richard, is this what Jack Maxey's been saying about there's a realignment going on, and you can see it in South Florida, you can see it in Detroit. You're seeing Hispanics and African Americans start to respond to the populist economic nationalist message of Donald Trump. Maxey's been beating this drum for a long time. Do you see that? Do you think right now in Michigan tonight, because you and I walked through what could be a path for Trump to have victory in Michigan, and this is exactly what you talked about the other day. Macomb County is the home of the Reagan Democrats. You said he's got to win Macomb, he's got to win it big, offset Oakland, and then he's got to fight. He's got to get in there and take some votes out of Detroit. Is this what you're seeing?
Yeah, this is what he's got to do. I'm seeing, and just to bring it up and see what we're talking about, he would not have done as well as he has done tonight without this realignment. There's just no doubt. In Florida, in Texas, he did exceptionally well among Western Texans in areas that Republicans don't do well with. That is a Mexican working class vote out there. And there was some hint of that even in the New York Times poll, which was abysmal. Obviously, they were horrible. But there was hints of that. They chose not to believe that voter, Steve. And from this point forward, what Donald Trump has proven tonight is where the path is forward for the Republican Party. They need to not they need to not resist him like they have been doing over the last 4 years, because there's just no doubt this is the only path if the Republican Party wants to be a national force in the future.
Okay. By the way, let's report that. That's Biden deputy campaign manager
Rufus Gifford saying, "We're going to win." 20 minutes.
Is that just putting the stiff upper lip, or they know something we don't? Before we let you go, Richard, we know you got to jump here.
Michigan and Wisconsin lean to Trump. Steve, he's doing what he did in 2016, but he's doing it bigger. Again, I go to Michigan and I point out these two because this is really what it's all about. Here's McComb. He's winning it by 33 points. He only had 56% of the vote there in 2016. I don't mean only, because that was a feat for a Republican candidate back then. And nothing's like that since Reagan. We're now at 66%. And in Oakland, Biden is only up by 7. This is more than a draw, folks. This is more than a draw. This is turning into a thumping in Michigan. More than a draw.
What about, real quickly, what about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, similar thing playing out there, although it did tighten a little bit. What we see is really, here's Milwaukee, Donald Trump at almost 40% with about half reported. That's way above the performance in 2016, and Biden is also below, which is important. In Racine, it tightened, but Trump just has to carry it. And then in Kenosha, he is romping, not just winning. He's romping. A lot of votes there, and it's causing a big spread. That leaves Dane, and they're in, Steve. They're in.
Okay, Richard.
I mean, really.
Richard, we're going to let you go. You're going to have you back in a little while. Freshen up. Do your other stuff. We'll have you back. People loving what you got to say. They love the granularity, love the detail. Thank you very much. We'll get back. Richard Barris is the head of Big Data Polling. He's a guy that called it in 2016. He does all the hard work, sir. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a few minutes.